This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
That dick just sitting there. You can't tell it's a dick, though.
You can't?
I can't.
Oh. I guess because, like, I'm seeing, like, how the camera's picking up and not over the internet. It is clear as day.
Yeah.
Dick.
It's just unclear enough that it...
Yeah.
But now I can't stop staring at it. And then Chucky's right underneath.
I know. It's like the dick is pointing at Chucky, which is weird. But here we are. In my mess of a room.
Dicks and Chucky.
Dicks and Chucky. Sums me up. What can I say? Am I going to get Clueless in here or no?
I think you should.
Oh, God. All right. I'm going to do it.
Like, it's up to you. But it's hilarious.
We haven't done one of those in a while. One of bizarre episode opening. So let's do it. And welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly mini-sode where we dig into the things that we've been watching recently. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth. This week we're talking about a blind spot I finally remedied, a sad as fuck holiday horror, one of the best new genre TV shows, and one of the not so great but not as bad as people say ones, and also Lesbians. Beautiful, beautiful lesbian.
I'm dying to know, what is this blind spot that you finally remedied?
Scream 2.
Ah! And?
I loved it.
Wasn't it good?
It's so good.
Isn't it so good?
I didn't know the ending. I didn't know the twist. And that was even more exciting, because I feel like I never, like, it's, like, so hard, but I somehow didn't know the twist or, like, forgot it or whatever, and I was like, I was, like, genuinely shocked. It was an exciting
you had, like, an experience.
I had an experience. It was a great time. Man, Neve Campbell in that play, that college, theater department, fucking incredible. But man, oh man, that was so good. Like, I had seen that cold open before, but that cold open is just so complex and cool. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, I just think I love that. Like, it's really fascinating how much deeper they go into, like, this idea of the horror movie and, like, the tropes of the horror movie and the second one, and, like, dig even deeper into all of that. And, I loved it. It's so
And it
good.
has some shocking moments. Randy's death.
Oh, I not cried, but I was like, what? That's rude. Yeah, I was mad about that one. Really loved Jerry O'Connell's death. Weird naked death on the cross situation. Very weird. Very bizarre.
When she goes up and holds on to it, trying to keep the blood from pouring.
It's like this movie. I just felt I could not help but feel so fucking bad for this girl. Like, I know there's a bunch of the movies, but it just, like, in watching this and just kind of thinking about it, what all of the shit she went through in the first one, and like her just struggling so hard to be like, don't be around me, I'm dangerous. Like, it's just it hits really hard of just like how sad and just fucked up she feels about being around people, and how she's like, I'm cursed, like I can't escape. It's just oof.
And how mundane the whole thing becomes for her. That like at the very, I love when she's introduced in the scary voice on the phone, and she's like, she has caller ID.
Yeah,
and it's like
the phone number is
you know, she's just, at this point it's like, really, like, fuck off. She's so over it.
She's so, and it's like, but like you can tell that she doesn't let it bother her, and she's like just trying to be normal, and it's just like, it's just the movie's out, like it'll be fine, blah blah blah, and like I love that about her, but then you can see it wearing down. Like, she's trying so hard to be that strong final girl who like doesn't let anything bother her, and she's a badass, and she is a badass, but she also like is worn down by like being terrified for her life, and like watching all of her people around her die. Like, that's so much loss that she is experiencing all the time. It's just like, it's fucking tragic. Struggling
with PTSD, trying to like trust her boyfriend when the last boyfriend, like there's this movie there's no way this movie could exist without the first one. And a lot of times when you see like some sequels, it almost feels like they're trying to like remake the first one. And a lot of times, especially with like slashers, but this one, it's like, no, this one is directly answering to events that happened in that first movie. And you can see like a through line for her kind of trauma and dealing with what happened in that first one. And I think this movie's so special. I'm so glad you finally saw it.
Oh my God. And like, I love the fucking scene where they're climbing out of the crashed car with the ghost face in the front seat. I was like, I'm gonna fucking pee my pants. Like, this is so tense. Fucking tense. Like, it's just, those movies are just so incredibly made. And like, Wes Craven is like, I know how to scare you. And I'm like, yes, you fucking do. Like, he just knows how to terrify the shit out of you. And so, yep. It's a fucking special movie. So I'm glad I finally watched it. So.
And Jackie from Roseanne just going wild-eyed, Mrs. Voorhees ending.
Shit's crazy.
Love
that shit
her.
Is fucking crazy. I loved it. I was like, oh, it's her. It's the mom. Oh my God. I was just like.
Well, and then I got like a 1-2 punch of Mickey Rourke from this movie. And then like, I think like 2 years later was Go, which he's incredibly hot in that movie.
Mickey Rourke?
Not Mickey Rourke. Good fucking God.
Timothy Olyphant?
Timothy Olyphant. I was thinking Mickey. Like, I was thinking Mickey, the creepy Tarantino film student.
I was like,
oh, Jesus Christ. Timothy Olyphant. Yes. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, when he's like, the trial, like he's like giggling about the trial, and I'm like, you're so fucking creepy. Oh my God. It's, ugh.
Mickey Rourke. Jesus, Terry.
That was incredible. I was like, Mickey Rourke was in this? I don't remember that. I was like, I think I would remember if Mickey Rourke was in this movie. But, okay, so what is this incredible TV show, genre TV show that...
Oh my God. Yellowjackets.
I thought you were talking about Yellowjackets. Okay, I've heard great things. Tell me more.
So you haven't watched it yet?
I have not watched it yet. I am aware of it. I just haven't watched it yet.
Well, the first episode is streaming on like YouTube and a variety of places. So Showtime is really trying to heavily like get people invested in the show, and for good reason. I also have a
Showtime account. Unfortunately, I bought it. I'm like, just too much horror shit across the internet that I want to fucking get. But anyway.
I mean, you're not far behind. The first episode just aired.
Yeah, well, but I'm glad they're like doing the thing where they're putting it across other platforms and like having it be free. Like, that's really smart. I like that.
So Yellowjackets is about a team of high school soccer players, girl soccer players. They just like won really big things. I don't know sports, and are going to nationals, which made me kind of laugh because I'm always thinking about how like regionals with like choir and band and stuff. They're going to nationals, and they get into a private jet that one of the family members rents, and they go taking off, and they end up crashing in the Ontario wilderness, where they are survivors for 19 months. 19 months they are stuck in the woods. And in some ways, this kind of feels like... So it's set in 1996 when this happened, and then it is also set in 2021, 25 years later. And so it's sort of like a mystery of who survived, who didn't. We see some of the characters that are introduced, and the adult versions of them are played by people like Melanie Linsky and Christina Ricci and Juliette Lewis. Fantastic actresses, just turning in fantastic performances. But then it intercuts between 2021, where there's like some kind of mystery going on, and also in 1996, where we're starting to learn how this group of sort of cohesive team ends up turning on each other and turning into cannibals and tribalism and murdering each other. The opening of
Lord of the Flies, basically.
Lord of the Flies. And in a way, this feels like a direct answer to Lord of the Flies, because there is a quote of, William Golding, the director of
Lord of the Flies book.
Where there's like a famous quote where in an introduction to Lord of the Flies, William Golding, the writer, says, "I think women are foolish to pretend they're equal to men. They are far superior and always have been. But one thing you can't do with them is take a bunch of them and boil them down, so to speak, into a set of little girls who would then become a kind of image of civilization of society." And his idea is that if the reason why it's all boys in Lord of the Flies is that it wouldn't make sense that girls would turn on each other. And this feels like a direct, like, fuck you, like, no, girls are a lot more complicated than what your sort of like heightened idea of what femininity is. And here we have women. The opening scene is this woman running barefoot through snow, yelling, while you hear like cawing and whispering surrounding her. She disappears because she falls into a trap and is like pierced all the way through. And then there's a scene later where the body is hung upside down. They slit her throat. And then there's a scene later where they're eating her. So we get this, and that is sort of like a future point in this 19 months. And then it kind of goes back to the first episode is leading up to that crash. And then it goes from there. And this show is fucked up in so many different ways. It definitely does not shy away from the gore.
Fuck yeah.
It has an interesting story in the past and in the present. There's something going on. And there's also sort of like a mystery of like who survived, because you're sort of learning it out. So it kind of feels a little bit like Lost in a way, in that kind of regard, where it's sort of like, instead of in Lost, the first season of Lost, where you're sort of seeing the past leading up to them sort of getting on the island, here it's like they're crashed and you're seeing the future and what the island did to them, or the forest in this case did to them.
Oh.
And it's so good.
Is Yellowjackets
it's the first
their team?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I've watched the first episode maybe 2 or 3 times now. I think the first episode is so perfectly paced, and I've seen the first 3 episodes, and I think this is a show that genre fans, you need to not be sleeping on.
Fuck yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it.
So that was Yellowjackets. Let's talk about this sad as fuck holiday horror.
So I watched Silent Night, directed by Camille Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming out December 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck is that fucking movie? Jesus Christ. So, okay. The film is bleak. It's like bleak from the beginning. It's basically a pitch black horror comedy about it's Christmas Day, and we almost got through it. We almost said it. But it takes place on Christmas Day, and it is the day before basically the end of the world. The Earth has decided that it no longer wishes to have people on it. A poisonous cloud is coming to consume them all, and they all know this is happening and have these little pills that they're going to take so they don't suffer.
Government-sanctioned suicide.
And so the film is basically like all of these like friends coming together for one last like celebration together before they all have to kill themselves. So, like, already, like, really uplifting shit. Like, really great. There's some really funny parts. Like, I will say, like, incredibly funny.
It's so
like,
funny.
fucked up funny shit going on in this movie. And, like, I really liked it for the most part. But I think it got me really angry because it's just, like, we are in a time period where this shit is, like, so real, so much realer than it ever has been. And it just fucking feels so mean. And, like, I think that's the point, but just, like, it just feels so mean-spirited at some points. And I don't know how I feel about that yet. I've been trying to parse my feelings for, like, a week now about how I feel about this movie and, like, the emotional kind of manipulation that's going on here. And, like, I get it. It's supposed to be fucked up and, like, look at the fucked up situations we're in and, like, what that kind of leads us to do. But some of it is just like, why though? Like, why are we doing this? And it's just like, it's just so fucking sad because even though it's funny, like, they talk a lot about choice and, like, this little kid is questioning, like, why he has to kill himself and, like, why he can't live and these, like, illusions of choice and, like, what we've done to the earth and reconciling, like, who we are and what we've done and, like, this looming specter of death and, like, it makes me want to have a panic attack just thinking about it. Like, it's hard. It's a rough movie. It's just rough. It's a really difficult watch.
It is. I saw this, like, I don't know. I can't remember. It was at some festival earlier this year and maybe it's Fantastic Fest. I think I might have seen it there. I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
But it was one of those, and I haven't written my review about it because I'm still parsing out what I think about it. However, listening to you talk about this, it reminded me about how much I thought it was a very funny and biting satire about the rich, because a lot of the problems of global warming and the kind of climate stuff that this movie is kind of tackling, a lot of times are results of the rich. And here we have the world is ending and this rich people are coming together for a night of celebration before they're going to somewhat painlessly, they think, off themselves, while other people don't have that luxury. There's like a whole thing about how you have to be a British citizen to get this pill. And so there's like the idea of immigration, and if there's people that aren't going to have it and they're going to end up dying a very painful death by this cloud coming in, and they have no options, whereas this family has all the options. And so I kind of saw it as like this very, very, very caustic and yes, mean-spirited dark comedy about these people trying to have one last hurrah because they are entitled enough to be able to have that ability.
Like, they go to this, like, secluded giant house in the countryside and, like, their beautiful cars and they're, like, all their food.
Leave grandma.
That scene was awful with the Zoom call and, like, that was too close to fucking home. But the part that really got me, and this isn't really a spoiler, it's like, I think it's in the trailer, where they rob a convenience store for sticky toffee pudding, because it's like, well, we're dying tomorrow anyway, and they rob a fucking store. And it's such a brief moment, but just like, and they're like giggling about how, like, oh my God, I can't believe we did it. And, like, I don't know, I think it's a good movie. I just think there's, like, it's hard to watch because it feels, and it's sad because, like, it's like the first hour is pretty funny, and then, like, the last act is just, like, fucking depresso central, and it's just like, I'd be very interested to see people's reactions when it comes out, because I watched it and then I was like, I need to sit down. Like, this is rough. So that is, and it stars, like, it's got a good cast, like, Keira Knightley's in it, Matthew Good, like, it's a great cast, and it's incredibly well acted. It's just rough. It's rough times, my friends. Rough times. But yeah, so that Silent Night coming soon to a depression near you. So what is this not so good TV show?
Well, I kind of wondered if I should bring this up or not, but, like, I watched all 10 episodes over a weekend, and I feel like I need to talk about this because I'm also kind of surprised at some of the vitriol, I guess, about this show. But I'm talking about Cowboy Bebop.
Schmash,
yeah, the live action adaptation of the classic and iconic anime series. I know you're an anime fan. Have you seen?
I'm actually watching it right now.
The original?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of vitriol online, though, about it. And I'm curious what you think.
So I
just like off the bat, I will say, I think live action adaptations of anime are fucking stupid. Like, I don't care how good they are. I think it's absolutely unnecessary to ever do that. And we can talk about that a little bit more. But that's just like, first off, whatever. Anyway.
I mean, I get that. I get that 100%. But on the other side of things, there are things like I think about how there are people that would not watch an anime, just in the same way that there were people that wouldn't watch Ringu, wouldn't watch Ju-on, don't know about it, don't know if they would want to watch it, end up watching it, and then wanting to find out more, and so end up going to watch the thing that it's based on.
With your fucking thoughtful response.
And so I mean, it's a valid thing, because all I kept thinking about now, okay, I'm not a huge anime fan. I'm not. But I have seen Cowboy Bebop. I saw it maybe 20 years ago, and I don't really didn't remember a whole lot about it, but I remember really liking it at the time and thinking, this is really good. It's
like one of like the anime you should see if you like it. It's like, even if you don't like anime, like it's one of the
even if you don't like anime, it is a show that you should watch. It's an iconic part of pop history. And it's, from what I remember, again, it's been 20 years. I remember it being very, very good. I'm kind of curious what I would think about it now. And I actually wanted to rewatch it before I watched the live action adaptation. But I'm coming from it as someone that, like, I appreciated it, but I don't remember anything about it except that the music was fucking killer. And I remember that there was a corgi. that is like
a super smart
corgi who is not really well done. And okay, this is a remix of that. And there are things where it's like, hey, this was an episode or a villain from an episode of here, and this was a sort of a plot line from there. Yeah. It's fine. It's aggressively fine. But all I kept wanting to do when I was watching it is go like, oh, I really wish I was watching the anime right now, is kind of how I feel about it. And I've seen, I mean, it's almost like, I think if you throw a rock, you're going to find a review that mentions you could watch the entire anime season in the time it takes you to watch this, pretty much, because this is 10 episodes. They're an hour long. That's like 30 episodes. They're 30 minutes long. So it's almost the same amount of length of time. I don't think this is a bad series. I think it's fine. I think there's some things in it that are actually really good. I really like what they did with some of the queer characters and made things more explicitly queer, as opposed to sort of the, this guy might be kind of queer, but we're not going to really talk about it. So Gren, who is an intersex person in the original cartoon anime that is was forced to be intersex by drugs, if I remember correctly, from his time in the military, their time in the military. And it's sort of like a played almost for laughs at the end, because I think I remember the character's like, what are you, at one point to that character. Here,
oh yeah,
non-binary, played by a non-binary actor, fantastic.
Okay.
Has more agency. Julia, the sort of femme fatale from the original one that never really, from what I remember, my recollection, never really had much agency, has a lot more agency here.
Okay.
Faye, queer, has a sex scene with a woman. There are like some things in here that I think take things that were introduced and maybe didn't necessarily have the dialogue for, or didn't have the maybe bravery to do back then, and when this was originally released in like the 90s. There's a lot more here. I think there's a lot more queer stuff that I was really happy to see. I don't think it looks as bad as people say. I think it looks about on par with like what you're going to get from a Disney Plus television show, which I don't know why we're saying that this is really ugly when we're lauding Disney Plus shows as being like really beautiful. It's TV budget.
Yeah, I also think it's just because like it's really hard to translate from the animation medium to live action. And like that's my thing a lot of the time with like why I get so mad about this is that like animation is a medium that lets you do so much stuff. Like it opens up your world. Like I know we have CGI, but it's not the same thing as like animation where you can like just make an incredible world full of like color and like bodies can do weird things and like space and time don't necessarily matter as much. And in this show, and like, you know, I think that's a hard thing to translate over. And I think because Cowboy Bebop is so colorful and like full of this like the beautiful animation, it's just hard to see that lose its life a little bit. And I haven't really watched the show, so I'm just seeing what people say on the internet, but like it's hard to see that, I think, especially with such a beloved show. Like, you were adapting the show now is like a damned if you do. It was like doomed.
There's no
like,
way.
Not to be a shit, but like there's too much anime fans, obviously, as you could tell, like we're a little bit psycho. And especially with Cowboy Bebop, like, but you know, like you said, people are talking about Cowboy Bebop again.
Netflix
and,
has
like,
it out
not
there
that
now.
It's ever left the conversation. Like, it's more in the conversation, and more people will probably watch it. Like, that happened with Evangelion when Evangelion came to Netflix. Like, it wasn't this exact same situation, but, like, it got people into that medium again. Or, like, opened up people's eyes to that medium and, like, what it can do. So, yeah. And at least they cast a fucking Asian person to play Spike.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you have let's think about this in terms of representation. You have the three main characters of this: Jet Black, played by a black man; Spike Spiegel, played by an Asian man; Faye being played by a Mexican American actress. So you have people of color being front and center in the story, this big budget action story.
And that is something I think is like, even if it's not good, like, it doesn't have to be good, but like you still have to be like, that's pretty big. It is like still really great to see that shit like in a big Netflix show like this. Like, it's important. And
I think that where it ends is actually a really, like, it actually made me want to watch a second season. I don't think that this season is necessarily that great. I think it is definitely a fine moment. There's some episodes in it that I think are fantastic. There's a lot of stuff that I'm like, no, this didn't work for me, dog. But I like that it's kind of bringing Cowboy Bebop back into the non-anime realm for like fans. And maybe because it is on Netflix now, the anime series is on Netflix, that maybe more people will discover it and realize how amazing that original show is. So I don't think it's as bad as people say, but it's not great. And it's playing now on Netflix, so maybe go watch it, unless you're a huge fan of the anime, and then just go rewatch the anime.
Just go watch the anime. Go rewatch the anime.
That's my official review.
Great. Put it on the poster. Wow. Okay.
Speaking of queer content.
Speaking of queer content, what did we watch this week for Erotic Thriller Journey?
You closed a blind spot this week, and I did as well, because we watched Bound for the first time for me, and oh boy, did I love this movie.
Isn't it fucking incredible?
So the basic plot is that we have a tough ex-con, Corky, who is
Gina Gershon
with, oh my god, her smile in this, and her lips. Like, I've never been attracted to someone's lips before, but her lips are so fucking hot in this movie. But she has been hired to fix up a really rich person's apartment, condo, and next door there is a woman named Violet, played by Jennifer Tilly, who immediately catches her eye, and they start fucking, and then they come up with a plan to murder Violet's, not murder, but steal from Violet's boyfriend, but probably end up have him get murdered in the process, and then flee with millions of dollars is the basic, like, I would say, plot point.
Yep, it's an erotic thriller. It's like a neo-noir.
It's a heist film.
It's a heist film. It's like it's a lot of things, and it's all incredible. The Wachowskis directed this. This was, I think, their first movie, or one of their first movies. And it is, they made this when they were not identifying as, like, they weren't out, but they were, like, it's queer. Like, it's just, when people talk about this, I'm like, but like, they've always been queer. So it's not like, I don't know. It's just incredible to see this movie and like see how their journey as filmmakers, as queer filmmakers, has evolved. because they really fucking came out the gate with Bound of just like gay neo-noir. Fuck off. And it's just so good.
I see that their leather fetish did not start with The Matrix.
No.
It started here.
Nope.
From the very beginning.
It did.
So one of the lines that I really love is Jennifer Tilly's character says, "Do I make you nervous, Corky?" And then there's a later line where she's like, "Isn't it obvious I'm trying to seduce you?" And I love the confidence between these two women. I love their chemistry is it's so incredibly hot.
It's so incredibly hot. Like, the sex scene between the two of them is, like, not male gazy. Like, I love me a good lesbian sex scene that isn't just like, look, it's two chicks fucking, you know, like, wild things. Seeing these dynamics of the noir kind of the femme fatale seducing the guy, but having it be a more like a masculine woman and a very traditionally feminine woman, and like watching these dynamics kind of unfold in this queer context and how they subvert the expectations of what you think is going to happen with Violet and with Corky, and like who's going to betray who, and like,
well, they're both femme fatales.
They are, which is I love, and like they're both femme fatales and they're both like the guy. You know what I mean? Like neither of them falls into one mold, and like Violet is like an incredibly iconic character who I'm obsessed with, and like Jennifer Tilly is an incredible performance with this character of just being so sexy and sexual and confident, but also like a little bit timid sometimes, but just like a bad bitch who like isn't afraid to be like herself and talk about her circumstance. She's like, yeah, I have sex with men and I have sex with women, and like she's very self-assured in her identity. And I love that because like you don't see that a lot in these movies of like, I have a whole conversation when I have a conversation about her being bisexual, but it's a hard conversation to have because I don't want to have like lesbian erasure and like erase like those identities in this movie, and like I don't want to step on anyone's toes with that. But like she is so steadfast in her sexual identity, and that she tells Corky, yeah, I've had sex with men. Yeah. So like that doesn't make me any less of who I am. And I'm like, oh, I love this. There's no like she's confused. Like it's just like she knows exactly who she is, and like it's this self-assured queer femme character. It's just like mwah mwah mwah. She's everything.
Well, and they're eye fucking from the very beginning, so it's not like, oh
my god, they first see each other on the elevator. That elevator sequence.
It's not a queer person leading a woman astray. It's not like that sort of like monstrous lesbian, monstrous queer person that we see that is inserting themselves into heteronormativity. No, they are eye fucking each other from the very beginning. They are attracted to each other from the very beginning. This is a love story. Like
immediately. Exactly. Like you said, there isn't like, oh, she's like the straight woman is being seduced. It's like it's a mutual attraction immediately, because Corky is next door painting the apartment next to Violet and her boyfriends. And Violet knocks on the door like, do you want some lemon? Is it lemonade or something? And like tries to like ask her if she wants anything to drink. And like, or she's like, oh, my earring fell down the drain and I need you to help me get it. And I'm just like, and there's there's a shot of Gina Gershon's character like doing something with the pipes, and you just see like Jennifer Tilly's legs, and you just see like her stockings, and like this whole movie plays with that male gaze, but it's not the male gaze, because it's like, oh, it's just the plays with that gaze expectation in so many cool ways too, and it's just like,
I do have a problem though. The scotch they're drinking. That is a cheap-ass bottle of scotch. Like, I was trying to get a good look at it, and I was Googling it, and maybe I'm wrong because there are some Glenlivet bottles that are expensive, but I buy that 12-year-old Glenlivet scotch, and it ain't that expensive, honey. It's like a $40 bottle of scotch. When scotch can go up to like
I fucking
thousands
love
of dollars.
Like, you're like, I have a problem here. This is that's incredible.
I was so obsessed. I was like, ooh, what scotch are they drinking? And they're like, it's the Glenlivet. And I was like, okay, I buy the Glenlivet, but maybe it's inexpensive. And I saw it and I was like, no, that label and that color of label is the exact same one that I buy when I'm trying to be cheap with my scotch. And I love that it's like, oh, it's the Glenlivet. It's the best. And like, Glenlivet is really good. I have a bottle of it right here. But
Wow. Would you look at that? There it is.
This bottle is more expensive than the bottle that they're drinking.
Terry's here to lay down the fucking law about Scotch prices. Oh, I'm so glad you loved it, though.
I did.
I mean, I had a feeling you would. I was like, if he doesn't love this, I would be so...
It's so well paced.
Right?
Like, it's a 2-hour movie, and I was like, oh, it's going to be 2 hours. But I was, like, enthralled from the very opening moment, and I just...
Right? Oh, the opening closet shot where they're, like, going through... Oh, my God. That, like, I got to watch this in grad school in my queer cinema class. We watched this, like, on a big screen, which was really cool. And, oof... Man, oh man.
And maybe this is TMI, but I do have a question. Her nails were awfully long. Is that... Mary Beth has left the chat.
I've been rendered speechless. I mean, like, it's a valid thing to bring up. Her nails are long.
And sharp.
Look,
I just don't...
Violet knows her way around a pussy. Let's just...
There we go. That's what I wanted to hear.
You're like, I'm gonna get it out of you. Look, she knows her way around a pussy.
I was just like, oh my God. It just, in my mind, seems like that would be not pleasurable. But...
Well, I mean, like, there's the whole thing where, like, you know... Women who are in relationships with women, when they get manicures, they'll get like the nails trimmed down on like one of their hands. They won't get the full manicure.
Okay.
Like that's pretty. Like that is, you know, when you see that, they're like, "Oh, did your nails break?" You're like,
"Yeah,
definitely."
Sure.
Yeah, no. Like a lot of the time, like women who are in relationships with women have their fingers trimmed out, like their middle and pointer finger trimmed down.
See, I didn't know that.
So it's not uncomfortable.
I didn't know. No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty common because, like, it is like having long nails and going like touching either your vagina or someone else's vagina. It's not. It's like it's a complicated little thing to kind of like navigate, especially internal versus external stimulation.
That's what I was thinking. Like I literally took a note. In all caps, I can't imagine sharp nails being good for fingering. That was my note.
No, it's not. They're not. They're not. Mm-mm.
Sex education.
No, it's
important.
These fingers trimmed, I think. I think it's the middle and ring. I think it just depends on your preference of like how you prefer to get the job done on your partner with the vagina. I shouldn't say women in relationships with women. People with vaginas in relationships with people with vaginas. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that education.
Yeah, I could. Gotcha.
And on that note.
So, what are we watching next week for our erotic thriller journey?
Okay, so we are taking it to 2017 in a movie that I have wanted to see since 2017 that I completely just realized is an erotic thriller. So I was like, hey, can we watch this? And Mary Beth's like, yeah, duh. We're watching Double Lover, which is I believe, French film about twins. Twins, Basil. There's twins.
Twins, Basil. Twins. Yes, it is. Oh, it's Francois Ozon.
It is.
And he's done some weird shit, like swimming pool.
He did do swimming pool. He also did a queer coming of age story that just finally came out this year, summer of '85.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to watch that finally because I've been meaning to, for 4 years now. So that's what we're going to do for Little Cuts. But who are we talking to on Monday, Mary Beth?
I'm super excited. On Monday, we are chatting with writer and filmmaker Emily Gagne. And we get to discuss an absolutely bonkers erotic thriller and Mark Wahlberg vehicle, Fear, which also involves fingering.
It does. I was literally just thinking that.
Reese Witherspoon gets fingered on a roller coaster.
She sure as fuck does. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating conversation. It's fun. It's wild.
You'll get to hear my story about Reese Witherspoon, and
it's a good one.
We talk about how Mark Wahlberg's a dick, but the movie's surprisingly really good. So
yeah,
tune in.
Talk a lot about virginity and purity culture.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, y'all, you've heard from us. We want to hear from you. Did you watch a film or one of the shows that we watched and have thoughts? Do you have suggestions for things we should be covering? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us directly on Twitter. I'm at MB McAndrews.
And I'm McGailey Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast at Scarred Podcast.
We had 2 reviews pop in November. So thank you so much for giving us a review. They were very kind and it was really sweet to see. So please, if you're listening, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're reviewing, especially on iTunes, and make sure you're giving us a rating because dumb algorithms are so important and it's dumb, but it is a fact of life. So thank you for those 2 reviews. We appreciate it.
We do. We read them all and text each other and get very happy when we see them. Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
Boop. Somebody please think of the children! Somebody please think of the children! Somebody please think of the children!
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is the Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.